There's just something about me on TV, like it just looks good.
Someone put the nicest comment on one of my videos. It was like a Fall Guys video I did, and they were like, "Hey man, you're doing great content." He's like, "Keep it up, and like something will blow up or something." And I was like, "Hey, thanks, man." Like just a fucking random person. I was like,
"You liked my comment? Awesome."
Yeah.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Reviewers Assemble. I'm your host Kyle. As always, we got Nigel back, we got Garrett back, we got Vic back. Thanks for joining us. We're doing Thor Ragnarok today. A high point of the MCU, I think. I think unanimously we can say that. I don't really know many people that don't like this movie, so I think across the board it's just thumbs up. So, Vic, you want to do kind of a quick recap of Thor Ragnarok?
Yeah, we can get into it real quick. So essentially what you're going to see here is Thor and Loki have a sister who Odin banished from Asgard a long time ago. And she is the goddess of death, I believe is what she calls herself. And she is one badass chick. Hela, yeah. She comes in and she's ready to take over the world. And essentially things get really thrown off and Thor and Loki get thrown out of the wow, I can't even think what it's called right now.
The Bifrost?
They get thrown out of the Bifrost by Hela and they end up in a different planet. And then it's all about the comeback story and trying to save Asgard. And it really shows a lot of humility from Thor because one, he's losing to a woman, he's losing to his sister. He has to team up with Loki again. When he goes to that other world, I can't remember the name of it with
Sakaar.
Yeah, with Jeff Goldblum, whatever it is. He really struggles to kind of find his powers and get comfortable again. But it's an amazing little comeback story for Thor. You never really see him that weak. But there's so much humor in this one. Great relationship building with some of the different characters. Just a lot of fun in this one. I think, like you said, unanimously we're all very high on this one, so it's gonna be a great review.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of best scenes I think for this review. Just a couple things that come to mind for me. There's so many. The opening scene is awesome where he's fighting all of the, I don't even know what the enemy type is, but it's like just these just common enemies, whatever. But it's like Immigrant Song is playing, his hammer's going around everything. He's going against like that big dragon. And then there's like the awesome scene where he's like flying with the hammer and the dragon's right behind him and it's closing in.
I love when he drops the hammer on his mouth.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Just needs to like
he's not worthy, you can't lift it.
Yeah. That's awesome. There's so many scenes. The supporting cast in this movie is so good. The director, I think his name is Taika Waititi or
Yep.
He plays Korg, who's like the
He's
Rock.
a funny character.
Like the funniest. He's hilarious in this movie. I think he's coming back for Thor: Love and Thunder too, which is great. So he'll probably be hilarious in that movie too. But like he's great. There's just Tessa Thompson is amazing as Valkyrie. What's her character's name in this movie?
It's just Valkyrie.
It's Valkyrie.
Yeah, it's just Valkyrie.
She's awesome. There's just so many lines. What do you guys have for some of your best scenes?
Nigel, you want to go first? Mine's kind of obscure, so...
Yeah, sure. So my favorite scene is definitely actually the one where Loki grabs Valkyrie to, like, relive her past. And that whole, just the animated scene that they do there of her, like, whole recap of, like, why she isn't a Valkyrie anymore, why she...
When she fought Hela years ago.
Yeah, exactly. That scene is just... And the animation on it is awesome. There's not a single line in that scene, and it's beautiful. It tells so much. There's so much emotion and power in that scene and everything.
Is that the slow-mo shot where it's like coming in and they're all coming?
And it's also
they're flying on like the
Pegasus.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it is stunning.
Those are really cool.
It's so good. It reminded me of in the 7th Harry Potter movie with the Deathly Hallows when they do the Tale of the Three Brothers. It's completely different from the regular animation that's going on in the movie. It's just it could be its own side movie. It's so good, and it looked so like
it looked beautiful.
It looked comic panel.
Yeah,
it looked like that. So it's really well done.
This film was shot really well. There's so many like really really good looking scenes in this movie. We watched a lot of this here in 4K. It's like it just looks great.
Yep.
Another scene I liked, not to jump back in here, but. The Matt Damon scene where they like they do the play where it's like Matt Damon as Loki, and then we find out it's Chris Hemsworth's brother Luke.
Luke
Hemsworth as Thor, and then like someone's playing Odin, and then we find out that like Loki is actually pretending to be Odin here. But that whole scene is great. The Thor and Hulk scenes are all awesome. Like a friend from work, amazing. There's just so many good scenes. in this movie. It's just like, for me, it's just like.
So I'll work right off you with Hulk and Thor. So I love the scenes, or kind of a series of scenes, when they're at Hulk's little like dorm.
Yeah.
They're calling it dorm. He's only his little working area.
Being a bad friend.
Yeah, being a bad friend. I love when like Thor goes to escape and he throws the ball and comes back, hits him in the head.
We get the baby arms reference here.
Yeah, and like Thor's Hulk is naked getting out of the hot tub.
Can't unsee that.
Or he's just like so friendly with Valkyrie. Like I always tend to lean towards loving the like emotional side of this and like the character building and developing. And I don't know, that one's just so good. Well, obviously the action and the humor in this is just so good, but that side of like the human side of Hulk showing there, and it's weird. I think we talked about this in the past, where like Hulk is actually developing throughout these movies. Like he was just a big monster, but now he kind of has some control over his powers. But
this one he's stuck as Hulk for 2 years. We find out.
Yes,
which Bruce finds is very scary. There's like a great scene where he turns and he gets back to Bruce when they go in the Quinjet, and then he's like, "Oh, I got Tony's clothes." And he's like, "Why does Tony wear his pants so tight?"
Yeah,
he's like constantly pulling his pants down, but. Just while these are coming to me in my head, there's another great scene where like they run into Tessa Thompson's character, and where there's like he's like, "You don't ever have to worry about the Hulk again," and then they run into like the Hulk parade where he gets like green smoke in his face, and there's like all these Hulk people
just chanting Hulk,
and he's like, "Oh, this is my disguise," and she's like, "I can see your face." He's like, "Not if I do this." That stuff is all really good.
The humor is phenomenal in this. Gary, what was your favorite?
Oh yeah. So mine is kind of obscure. I forget where they were going, but it's Thor and Loki, and they're leaving, and Loki shifts away to betray him.
And
Thor
Where
is
they're
just,
going to get the
Thor's got the one up.
Thor is just finally
For
ready
once,
for it.
he's the
like
trickster.
he's just like, all right, here we go.
He says life is about change and growth, and he's like, "You could be so much." He's like, "You're always just the god of mischief." He's like, "You could be so much more than that, brother."
Talks to him, shocks him with the device.
And then Korg saves him. Like Korg's like, "Hey man, we're doing a revolution. You want to come on board?"
Such a satisfying scene.
It's so
Korg
good.
is so good.
So good where Thor actually gets him at this point.
This is my friend Meek, who's got swords for
How
hands.
many movies has Loki pulled one over on someone, and then finally it's like, oh yeah, good try, but not this movie.
And even in this one, at the end, he takes the stone, the Tesseract.
Yep.
He ends up taking the Tesseract.
Yep.
When he's just trying to take the skull.
Which,
always,
since you bring it up, we brought up that if he doesn't take the Tesseract there, Infinity War doesn't happen.
No, I they said it's very hard to destroy the stone, so I wonder if whatever that dude was...
I'm going to imagine that the fact that he can destroy an entire world like that...
That would go up in smoke with it.
For it.
I kind of...
Or at least disperse it.
I kind of agree. And honestly, everything Loki does has some sort of long-term residual effect. So it makes sense that him just casually stealing the stone has this big long-term play. So you're right, Nigel. It kind of plays right into who Loki is.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you guys have for worst scenes? For me, it's kind of hard to pick out the worst scenes because
so we go back to kind of like when we were reviewing Doctor Strange. I'm like, I don't really have a worst scene. Like, I guess there's some lower points, but like I don't have like a.
What would you say are some of the lower points for you?
Scene.
I'm having a hard time thinking of them too, so don't worry.
So for me,
what do you got?
the Hela takeover was kind of a little rough for me. The fact that like she stands up, she just defeated Thor and Loki. She defeated all of his like best friends except for the Asian guy, who I always love the Asian guy. And then the Asian guy stands up by himself. It was like, "You're not taking over this place," and like tries to fight him, and then all the other soldiers try to fight him. Meanwhile, the entire village is leaving. Like all the which I always thought as Guardians that all of them were like.
Warriors.
Of higher strength. Maybe not all warriors, but of higher strength. But anyway, they like all run into like the village and they go and hide and whatever. But I don't know, that scene just rubbed me the wrong way. And instead of like trying to be a leader, she went there to just kill everybody. And I don't know, it was like to me, she is the darkest character in the entire Marvel universe.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Which is why I like
you brought up the point about Thanos. Yep. Thanos has like this weird vision that what he wants to do is for the better good or the greater good. Hela just wants to take over and be the most powerful thing in the world.
Yeah.
She'll kill anybody.
She's all about
her motivations are kind of.
I mean, she's the goddess of death, so it makes sense.
Yeah, for me, I don't even know if it's a worst scene. Like you said, Nigel, it's so hard to get like bad scenes because to me this is like pretty much a perfect MCU movie and just a really really good movie overall. For me, the scene in the Quinjet where like actually after we get the really funny scene where Thor's trying to log in and he's like scanning his face his hand, and he's like strongest Avenger, and he's like, and they're like denied, and he's like God of Thunder, he's like denied, and it's like he's like Point Break, and it's like welcome. Because of what
I love the
he's like damn it
scene.
Stark, and he like because he calls him Point Break.
Yeah.
And he logs in, but then Thor comes in and like smashes, and I know Thor can't really control, but like he smashes the Quinjet, and I'm like, I don't know. He's like, Thor, don't destroy everything.
You mean
But
Hulk?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Hulk comes in and just destroys everything. And I was like, I don't know. It seemed a little too convenient. I guess if I had to pick a bad scene, that's my choice. But
I agree. Like it was kind of a random add-on. But if we didn't get that add-on, we wouldn't have gotten the great Loki scene that Garrett brought up.
Yeah.
So, just take the Quinjet and go. But I don't know. Like,
I am glad. I mean, you guys have heard like over the last few weeks of like my biggest pet peeve with movies is when you have the convenience factor and like it shouldn't be that convenient.
you divert from
And
it.
the fact that they destroy the Quinjet so he can't get out of there right away is
Yeah.
like where I'm like, yep, that's what should happen. You shouldn't be able to just get in this thing and leave this planet like that just so easily. So yeah, I didn't hate that scene. I thought that moved the story along. I guess the aerial battle is unnecessary to me when they're trying to leave the planet, just because like
when they're fighting the orgy ship, you mean?
yeah.
There's no weapons. This is what the Grandmaster uses for the orgy.
Yeah, I think mainly it's because I guess Valkyrie and Thor, how easily they destroy these other ships, as they're trying to leave this planet. I'm just like, these shit, like, meanwhile the orgy ship has like all of these crazy shields on it. When I get he's the Grandmaster, so obviously he'd have a great ship, but like these other ships have like no security. Someone can just punch the shit out of it, and it's like, okay, that blew up. Okay,
Yeah.
so I guess that just felt really unnecessary. But like, it wasn't a bad scene. It just,
I like the scene too where he's like stuck. He's trying to get out of the Hulk storm or whatever, and he's like, "That's what heroes do," and he like throws the ball against the window, and it comes back and hits him in the face.
So good.
Yeah.
Gary, you got a bad scene?
My worst scene, which is hard to pick from. There really wasn't a worst scene. If I had to pick anything that I really didn't like or could have been better, the flashbacks with Odin felt like they were really underwhelming.
Okay, yeah, I can agree with that.
Like they were meant to explain certain plot points in the story, and they did, but they didn't do a great job of it.
Yeah. You know what I keep comparing them to?
Yeah.
I keep comparing him to the scene in Black Panther where he eats the flower and like then he's transported to like the
And he talks to his
realm of
father.
his father. Yeah. Like I kept wanting him to be that, and it wasn't even close to that
Yeah,
good.
he feels very underutilized in this movie.
Yeah, and it just like it felt very like, why the hell did you even bother with that scene? It felt awkward, right?
Yeah, it felt like we have an idea for how to portray what's going on and why Heli is here and all this, but we're just going to throw it. Where was he? Was that Ireland or Norway?
Norway, I think.
Norway, they're just like, he's just chilling on a cliff in Norway.
So I didn't mean that scene exactly. I meant more of the flashbacks when he's like almost dying.
That one too.
Yeah, which
Basically
I
anything with Odin in this
so
movie, I was kind of disappointed.
He did feel a little underutilized for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. What was up with the Shady Acres home?
So Loki put him in a retirement home in New York.
In New York.
But then how did he end up in the cliff?
It got destroyed. I think. I think he.
He like checked himself out or
So
something.
yeah, he broke free from Loki's
spell or whatever.
spell.
Oh, so Loki
So
put him under spell, put him in a retirement home, and then he broke free.
And then he broke
Okay.
free and left.
That makes, I must have just missed that part because I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like I like that, but I do like, even though I don't like that scene, it's like again, it's not the worst scene because it also breeds a really good scene that I like, or a line I like, which is, "Are you Thor, god of hammers?" No, which I love. Like, he's like,
towards the end, that's an awesome scene.
just calls him out like, "Are you stupid? Like, no, you're not a hammer god. What are you talking about?"
Yeah, because we get that awesome scene where he throws a Mjolnir at Hela, and she just literally crushes it with her hand, and just shows you how powerful she is.
Yep.
I think Gary said this off camera, where or one of you guys said it, where Hela is supposed to be like more powerful than Thanos potentially.
I think she is. Like, I think that she is supposed to be more powerful than him without the Infinity
stones.
Without the stones, I
absolutely.
think that
Which is
she
crazy.
is
No
actually
stones.
more. But again, because we talked about this, Thor's probably stronger than him too. with the hammer
Well, when he wants
and
to
without the stones.
That's kind of our gripe too. Vic kind of touches on that a lot. Where
his motivation seems up and down sometimes.
Yeah.
sometimes you can summon thunder, which we see at the end with the amazing bridge scene. And then sometimes, like, where was his power? Yeah, he relies on Mjolnir so much, and then Mjolnir's gone. He's like, oh, I'm nothing. Well, you're still the god of thunder, so
Right, like-
that's why Odin says, like, dude, you have the power of thunder, not the power of Mjolnir. So it's like, yeah, he kind of rediscovers himself. But I think that's good for best scenes and worst scenes. Do you guys have a strongest Avenger for this movie? Anyone stick
Yeah, I
with
mean, I can go.
Good.
Typically, I like to go off, the regular stuff, but I have to give Thor this one. Yeah, I think he shows a lot of different sides. He's emotional about his father passing. He's emotional about, like, just feeling defeated. He lost his hammer, so many different things, but then he loses his eye. Like, he just comes back stronger and better, and he creates a relationship with the Valkyrie and his relationship with Hulk. Like, there's just so much, and they go so deep into, like, Thor as a person, not just Thor as the superhero. So I thought he was really good in this. I know we were a little lower on him in the first couple Thor movies, and in what was he in? He was in the first Avengers. We were a little bit higher on him, but this one I thought was probably his best performance so far.
His best arc by far.
Yeah.
This really feels like the first Thor, like real Thor movie, where it's like
Easily.
they took like a huge leap on this.
Yeah, he's slowly gotten better since the first Thor movie, but this was huge.
He's really good in Infinity War, and he's really good in Endgame too, I think. And obviously, no spoilers, but we see a different side of him in Endgame. And then, like, for Thor: Love and Thunder, I think it's supposed to be like that comedic, sort of similar to Ragnarok. So it's like they finally figure out, like, Kevin Feige finally figured out, like, this is what the character should be. He should be comedic relief. He should be this awesome action hero. Like, they tried to make him too serious in the first couple Thors, and they're like, no, this is going to be this character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So.
What else you guys got?
For my strongest Avenger, I'm gonna go Valkyrie. I think
she's really good.
Very badass. She's strong. She's drunk half the time. Adds comic relief.
Dude, that's
like
my
90%
second
of the
favorite
time.
scene is the one where her first appearance.
When she falls off the ramp.
Oh, yeah,
it's like, oh.
He's mine. Like, woof. I'm just like, oh shit.
Yeah, and then she goes to see Thor, and she's like, you have until this is empty to talk to me, and then she just chugs the bottle.
She's a great character. She's so good.
And she may or may not have hooked up with Hulk in Hulk form. We don't know.
100%.
We don't know.
100%.
But
You
it's
like
left
it,
around
right?
for interpretation. She's drunk all the time.
I'm
It could've happened.
interpreting yes.
They're most likely they hooked up. Yeah.
So she.
So
should
Garrett's
be
in a
my strongest
cosplay.
Avenger.
Thor got a glimpse of
Everything
that
about
Hulk
it.
body though. He does say you can't unsee that. It's like, oh, that's naked Hulk. For me, I gotta go the Grandmaster, Jeff Goldblum. I mean, it was like a toss up between him and Korg in this movie for me, where like they're just both so good. But this is like almost a perfect role for Jeff Goldblum for me, where like I can't imagine anyone else. That whole scene where we talked about, it's like Space Mountain, where he's like strapped to the chair. And they're like, you're about to meet the Grandmaster. And it's like going through all these things. Just like, it's so well made.
That's
It's
a great scene.
visually gorgeous.
Yep.
And then like we get to the Grandmaster, and it's like Jeff Goldblum's charm. I'm like a sucker for Jeff Goldblum. So like no matter what he's in, like I always enjoy him. But he shoots some dude and like turns him into like goop basically. And he's like, oh, like Garrett said, he's like, oh, it's getting on my shoes. I'm stepping in
Dude,
it.
Thor, and that was so funny. Oh my god!
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm stepping in it. I'm stepping in it. Oh.
He's just hilarious because he calls him like the seductive god of thunder or something, or
Yeah.
and whatever. But
Lord of Thunder.
yeah. He's like, it's God of Thunder. He's just so good in this whole
Ooh,
movie.
sparkles.
Yeah.
Shoot sparkles from your fingers. That's great.
He
Like
was
I
really
said,
good.
it was him or Korg. I'm not going to tie them there. I guess Grandmaster gets a slight nod.
Korg is close.
Korg is really good. What about you guys?
Yeah, so my number one is Hela, for sure.
Okay.
I mean,
Strong villain.
she's the strongest one. I keep relating her to, she's what I wanted Loki to be in the first Avengers. Like we
good point.
talked about it, like all the little things about Loki that was like, you tried so hard, you just didn't
You connect
quite
them
hit
so
the
much
mark.
more because they both wear green.
Yep.
The dark hair, the pale skin, like they do feel like similar characters.
Very
Like
similar
they
style.
feel like brother and sister, even though
Right.
there's no blood relation.
Yep.
They feel like brother and sister.
Exactly. So, and it's funny because it's just, and it makes you wonder, like, is that why Odin took such a heavy liking to Loki there for a while? It's like, because he reminded
Correct his mistakes.
literally, like,
Yeah.
tried to, like, have a do-over, you know?
Mm.
But, like, she's so strong, and she's so strong, she has the power to back it up, but, like, she has that, you know, that walk and the presence and stuff that
she's
Loki
oozing with
has.
confidence the whole movie.
The whole entire time. And like it's everything that Loki is, but like she has the power like internally to back that up.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Loki's a trickster and stuff like that. He's cunning and all that, but like
he's smoke and mirrors.
Right, but the power's not behind that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Thor can beat him. You know?
Exactly.
So it's just she is so freaking strong, and she's smart too. That's the other thing. Like especially going through the treasure vault.
I do love like
Oh,
when she's walking and she like rubs her hair and the horns come
Yeah,
out.
that's cool.
yeah.
Like yeah, she's badass.
Because you just brought up Loki, Nigel, I forgot about that scene where he meets Hulk in the arena there, and Hulk like smashes Thor, and Loki's like, "That's how that feels."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, sorry, just a big fan."
So good.
That's
But yeah,
good.
no, it's just definitely she's the strong. And then that scene, in the treasure vault, dude, with the she's walking down like she's like, fake. That's not bad with the tesseract. Like,
Yeah.
but she doesn't even go for it. She's like, nah, I'm stronger than that. I don't need that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm good.
The eternal flame.
I
is
just
what
want
she was
this
like,
so I can go resurrect my army. Like she's
she's
so put together as a villain. So that it's like not until you meet Thanos do you really get someone that just innately strong, cunning, like with a motivation. You know, like Ultron has a motivation, but like it's kind of built into him.
He's still artificial intelligence.
Exactly. So it's like this is the first villain you really get that's just, in my opinion, that's like full on, just everything put together right there, and terrifying too. You know, like you have in Iron Man 2, you have that villain for sure. Like he's terrifying too because he's relatable and he's just like he has an agenda but not a flat agenda. He's just trying to make the god bleed. You know, like he says, but like. She's the same way, but she has that even more power to back it up where she's a god, you know? But, for sure.
It's a good choice.
I'll lead off with weakest Avenger because it'll sink directly into this.
Don't
I'm
forget
going to
Baby
go
Arms.
with Hela.
Yeah?
Here's why. And it has nothing to do. She's powerful.
I'm
She's
going to leave right now.
Yep. No, everything you said about her is true. And here's why I'm picking her as Baby Arms. The movie's not about her. The movie is centered around Loki and Thor and Hulk. And it's about developing all their characters. So even though she's quite possibly the most powerful villain we've seen up to this point, they totally throw her in a back seat. She doesn't get a lot of screen time. She's there a couple of times. She has the one big scene where she like wipes out everyone on Asgard and then going through like the treasure cove and all that. But the whole movie is spent on that other world with Hulk and Thor, and Loki's somewhere else, and like he's there and in different roles. It focused all on them for 90% of the movie, and then the other 10% where she was in it, she did a great job of delivering who she was. But I feel like because the movie wasn't about her, they really kind of it makes her less memorable in the long run of Avengers. Like she's not going to come to mind when you think of like, oh, who's great Avenger villains.
That's true.
So
that's very true.
And I don't think it has anything to do with her character. I think it just has to do with this film was not
The direction.
centered around her.
That's very true because I was thinking about it when we were rewatching this one. She's always my favorite when I rewatch this movie. But like if I'm ever listing it like as my favorite villains,
She doesn't come up.
she's not because it's like Ultron's there because he's so much of that movie. Thanos is obviously there because he's so big in that whole universe. Throughout all these movies, he's always in the background.
Even Mickey
of that
Rourke's
movie.
character in Iron Man 2.
He's throughout the entire
They
thing,
have
you know,
roles.
all of them. So that's a good point.
She probably has
is
what?
very much not.
Less than 20 minutes of screen time.
And I'm assuming they have to do it that way because she has to become a background because otherwise she's so powerful. Lily.
It is crazy that it's Kate Blanchett. I feel like she always plays like a sweet woman, and she's playing
I feel like
arguably the darkest, most badass person in this entire
but
series.
aren't there what else? I gotta look it up. But like, there's got to be a few things. I feel like she's played some darker characters.
I think she's played some scary movies for sure.
Like she's such a good actress, dude. She kills it every time.
It is funny because to your point, Garrett, she does get a back seat kind of where even though she is, like we said, the most powerful and she's really great when she's on screen, but she's not on screen enough.
Yeah,
and it is kind of weird.
3 scenes at most.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like they chose to focus, rightfully so, I think, on Thor and Hulk and Tessa Thompson's character, and that's all great. But they really put the villain on kind of the back burner here.
Yep.
It is kind of strange because she is such a strong. She's not a throwaway villain.
Yep.
She ends up being by default, kind of. But
and I'm gonna argue it was the right move for sure because it's like they focus so heavily on the villains in the other 2 Thor movies.
She could have done more.
But like they focus so heavily on the other 2 villains in the first 2 Thor movies that like having her as the not as big of a part of it, I think is what makes it better, because it's like it focuses on the character development for the other ones. That it's better, and I think it was a smart move on their part when they made this movie. So
the whole time she's in the back of your mind, she's not right there, but you're like, all right, ultimately at some point they're gonna have to go back to Asgard and confront her.
Yeah, when is she coming back into the picture?
You know that exists, but it's a small amount of the movie.
perfect comparison, actually. Endgame, dude, with Thanos. Because spoilers. Obviously, everyone's seen it, but like, what happens there? He gets his head cut off right at the beginning, but that's the overall problem, and that's not over for the rest of that movie. But he's all the way at the end, but like that's going to be a problem at some point. And it's the same thing with Hela, where it's like she's there. That's an over-looming presence, but like there's so much more going on, which I think adds to it and makes it a better. So I think it was a smart choice. So yeah, I agree with Gary. Like, it could definitely make her the weakest character in that regard, but like I think it was a good choice overall for the writing of that movie.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think they did it better in Endgame, of course, but like
for sure.
There are different scenarios for me personally, but I do see your point there. Of like, yeah, it's kind of just they have to confront it at some point.
Exactly. So I like that. That definitely made it, I think, better. Yeah. Which also goes back to even the next best character that I'm thinking of, if we're comparing the two. Iron Man 2, that character is like, he's there. He has obviously more of a presence throughout the movie, but like, that he's not really, for a good like 60% of that movie, he's not the guy out there that Tony's fighting.
Right.
He's fighting something else entirely, and like, but you're gonna have to fight this guy at the end, which makes that end scene where you have to finally go toe to toe with him even better.
Yeah,
so
it's a good movie.
Yeah, great movie.
For me, my Baby Arms, and this is cool because this is the first movie where Baby Arms originated from, I guess, because Hulk actually does say Baby Arms. He calls Thor Baby Arms. Yep. For me, it's Odin. Anthony Hopkins is underutilized in this movie. The scenes I remember from him is when Loki's pretending to be him, and they do the scene where, that awesome scene where Thor is like, nothing will stop Mjolnir from coming back to my hand, not even your face. And he's like holding his hand behind his face, and you just see like Mjolnir coming at him. But like he obviously they actually got Anthony Hopkins to like lay on the couch here and like make his lines, even though it was actually Loki. But like the cliff scene is cool, but again, like me being like, how did he get to this cliff? And wasn't he in their retirement home? And like, I don't like when we have to like dig through if it's not well explained. Like, I don't like having to Google things like, how did Anthony Hopkins get there? Where did he go? Where did he go from Dark World? It's like, I don't know. Anthony Hopkins is a phenomenal actor, like an all-time.
He's great in this role too, but you're right. He's underused and underutilized.
He was kind of underutilized in the last one too, though.
He has such a strong presence in that first one.
Yeah.
That like, you want that to be what happens in this one, and he's not like, he had his few scenes that he is in, he crushes it. Like, him pretending to be like Loki, pretending to be him, that whole thing is awesome.
Yeah.
The scene on the cliff where he's giving his sons some final advice before he passed away, it's great. But like, it's really, that's it. It's very underutilized.
He has kind of like a weak send off too, where doesn't he just like turn into dust or whatever?
Yeah.
Which is cool, but like also, I don't know. You think someone like Odin would have like some sort of.
It was pretty cool. So
you want like
the banishment of Hela. Yeah, so like the banishment of Hela is pending Odin's life.
Yeah,
so it's kind of cool. Like Odin like disappears into the ocean,
and
then Hela comes in. Yeah,
so that part is cool. But yeah, Odin for me is my Baby Arms because I think he just kind of by default a very 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 strong cast. I think by default he just kind of gets the short straw.
For me, it's that dude. Was it Scourge?
Scourge, yeah,
Scourge?
The executioner.
Yeah, I think one of you were saying earlier that you liked him. I wasn't a big fan. Like the character.
Is he the Destroy guy?
Yeah.
Oh, that's your Baby Arms?
Des and Troy together destroy.
Wow.
But for me, I
love that guy.
He had more of a role than Odin did in this movie. And it was all over the place. He instantly becomes this little pussy and betrays his entire people to bow down to Hela. And then at the end, he does make out for us. I'll give him credit for that. But he goes from like, yeah, these are my guns, to he's like running scared and like doing a shake weight. Like he's a tool
like
bag.
Spring Breakers when he's like, look at all my shit.
Yeah, he's just an absolute tool bag the entire movie. He's a fake
and then
tough
at the
guy.
end, he finally is like, you know what? I'm gonna stand up for what I believe.
And he says he's
go
like
full
for
badass.
Asgard, yeah, and he saves his people, which is
And you're like,
which is awesome.
oh, it's like, oh, now you do that after
His
you
character's kinda
join the
uneven.
villain side.
Yeah, I don't know. He just bothered me. And honestly, when you look at like anyone who deserves like a main character real depiction, he's the worst. I mean, Hela was pretty good. Valkyrie's pretty good. Hulk, like, you know, it's hard to find.
There's not much
in
to
this.
choose from. In this
Yeah,
movie.
even Heimdall was great in this, and his
That was
small
my
role.
secondary one to Hela, like strongest Avenger. Heimdall is so good in this one.
Yeah, he was
He
really
is
good.
He
really
does a
good.
great job. Like I liked him in all the Thor movies so far and everything that he's
Yeah,
involved in. But like
he's really
he does
good.
such a good job in this, like as
He's a
an
cool
outcast
character.
role too. It's so good. So my baby arms is actually it's a weird one, and I'm gonna blame it totally on the directing for this one. Maybe the like side background actors I thought were horrible.
Okay.
Rewatching this multiple times in a row.
So does
So
the
the
extras?
acting
Yeah.
scene, the acting scene is so bad. So Thor is about to beat up Loki, and you just see everyone standing behind, like sipping their tea,
Yeah.
like so awkwardly.
Yes.
It drove me crazy. I'm like,
I
I'm
know.
sorry. The
There's no reaction.
God of Thunder just dropped back, and he's throwing his hammer across the.
And no
Yeah.
one is.
No
like,
one's doing
it,
anything.
It felt like they weren't even there.
They weren't there. It was
They
like
were
green
just
screen,
oh,
like just
we're not
stage
allowed to
shit.
react to this.
And it killed me because it's like it was one thing at the beginning of the movie, but then towards the back end of the movie, the whole point of the back end of the movie is like Asgard is not a place; it's a people.
Mhm.
Well, your people suck.
Yeah.
So
Maybe we shouldn't
There
be
was
saying
no
that, sorry.
cheering, no
There
joy,
was
no laughter,
There's no
Not
emotion.
a-
There's no
nothing,
fear.
yeah.
There's
Nothing.
no-
That's it. That's
they
actually a
do
good one.
and it's really brought to light how good the main characters are in it.
Mm.
Like they just
They really do take a
Oh,
back
I
seat.
think
they
they didn't even
just
pay
like
attention
so
to the
far back.
extras.
I don't think
They
they
just
did.
were like, you know what, good enough, throw it in there.
Right, and I think that they were just hoping that they would overshadow them, but I'm like, it's definitely a product of watching it back to back to back several times in a row now, because I literally, over the last 3 weeks, guys, I won't lie, I watched the end of Ragnarok just because it was on TV, and then I rewatched it for this one, and then obviously we watched the last 30 minutes.
So-
And we watched a little more because you guys were watching it when we came over.
Yeah.
So I literally watched probably the entire movie 2 times within a 3-week span.
You're welcome.
It's, and no complaints, not complaining at all. But like literally watching that, I'm looking at them. I'm just like, you guys like.
But if
really
you're
just
noticing
took
it, then it's
way
a
back.
problem.
Yeah, and
You
so
know?
Yeah.
like
don't wanna pick
the
up on
background
this.
characters should never be the issue in your
Right.
movie, and in this one, I think they were. So,
Yeah.
That's
and
fair.
I know that's super rude to a bunch of people that are underutilized, underpaid. But like, yeah, you guys didn't hold up your end of the bargain in this one. Sorry.
That's right. Be better for next time. You know what I mean?
I'm glad you got your casting role and probably name in the credits, but not too good there, guy number 3.
Yeah. What do you guys have for scores for this one?
Oof, I'll kick it off. So I will. This is my first time putting a 9 in front of it.
Ooh.
Wow. All right.
I got Thor Ragnarok at a 9.1.
Wow.
Okay.
And you know, it really
Very
should
high.
be higher, but that is very high for me. That has surpassed Black Panther, in which I had an 8.8 as my high score before. So Ragnarok comes in number 1.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I tend to score I think higher, but 9.7 for me, baby. This is almost a perfect movie. I think. I struggled to find a worse scene because like from start to finish, between the dialogue, the scenes, the action, there's so many funny lines in this movie, and you get all this awesome action. We get a Hulk versus Thor fight. Like,
Yeah,
like,
That's true.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
it was a good fight too.
Hulk literally
Great fight.
jumps to like the sky and then like falls on him. We get like Hulk and Thor going back to back. He turns into Bruce. There's so many awesome scenes in this movie where I'm like, I already was like really excited to watch this again, and it just like blew me out of the water. Where it's just like pretty much like a perfect MCU movie for me, and I don't know if anything's gonna be able to beat it honestly with what we have left, but it's I'm going 9.7 because I think it's that good.
That's pretty
All right.
close. Perfect. Not to steal other people's scores, but I was going 9.1 as well. The first 9 I've put in my rankings. This by far blows out the next closest competitor with Civil War at 8.5. I just think it's a ton of fun to watch from start to finish. There's really no scenes where I'm like, wow, this is kind of a drag. It's just a great film. Tons of comic relief. The characters are likable. It's easy to just... It's one of those movies where you can just, at any point in time, you can throw it on and enjoy it. Or if it's on TV already, you can pick it up in the middle of it and be like, oh, who cares? I'll start right here. This is great.
It's a hilarious movie, honestly. Like I found myself like laughing out loud. Like it's really funny. It's not like cheesy funny. It's like
very
it's like genuinely
rewatchable.
funny.
It's got a great
It is. No, it's
rewatchable
really good.
factor.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What about you, Nigel?
So I gave this one an 8-9.
Really?
For the same reasons Garrett just mentioned. It's like I can throw this in at any point
And
watch
what did
it.
Guardians get?
9-1.
12.5.
The first one, right?
Yes.
All right, good.
Not the second one.
Hey, to each their own, you know.
Guys, let's just chill the hell out.
Wow.
Oh my
We didn't mention
God.
that Stan Lee also is the one who cuts his hair in this movie. We think it's like the gadget that just spins. And he's like a creepy old man
Ragnarok
cutting my
comes in at that, and it's close to
It's pretty
Guardians. It's
close.
right there, and it's for the exact same reason I like Guardians. So all the things you guys just said is why I like Guardians. So
hair. That's all right. You know, we all got our own taste there, so.
So where does this rank for you guys? I have it right now number 1 over Black Panther. Sorry. So it's
Multiple Panthers?
What? Black Panther. There will be.
so right now for me, I have Ragnarok, Black Panther, Ultron, Doctor Strange, Avengers. Those are my top 5 as of right now.
I don't have my top 5 handy on me, but I'll probably throw it into the video when I edit this. But it's number 1 far and above for me. It's, like I said, I don't know if anything is going to be able to beat it.
Yeah, it's at number 1 for me right now. Civil War is in 2. Avengers 1 is in 3. Iron Man 1 is in 4. And Cap 2 actually is in 5.
I got Guardians 1, of course, because like we just said, right? Ragnarok for
We know.
2, Iron Man 3, Black Panther, and Spider-Man. I will argue that Ragnarok and Guardians is pretty much neck and neck.
It's a coin
Now,
flip.
would you argue that Spider-Man, Guardians, and the Incredible Hulk are like neck and neck? Just saying.
I have
This was a great Hulk movie, I will
I
say.
have some taste, all right? So like Hulk can stay down at number 0. It's fine.
We can forget that Hulk exists.
Just below Guardians.
This is my Hulk movie, honestly.
Like
This
I
was a
skipped
really good
out
movie.
on that week for a reason, guys. So.
When they're
Fair
going
enough.
through like the pre with Hulk and stuff, I was like, oh, Hulk is cool. You guys just ruined it in the first movie, but like you can make Hulk cool.
It's like we talked about
You
in
saw
the first
that in this
Avengers.
movie.
And especially in this one, I liked Hulk. I liked Hulk when I was watching it as the animated series and stuff like that when I was younger. And it's a great character, but that movie just did
The
not
first
do a
movie's
great
just a
job.
train wreck.
You know, it's like I didn't mind it as much, but then these came out, and I'm like, this is just such a better character. You did such a good job, especially with Bruce Banner. Like Ruffalo does such a good job that I'm like, you really screwed it up on that first one.
Yeah.
So.
Edward Norton's a great actor, but
But
that was
but
not
it,
the
it,
role
100
for him.
It's like we've talked about.
It's
It was
not
just
a role.
100%. I think
Ruffalo
it was the
was
writing
great
and
as
everything.
well.
It was just not a good
It
movie
was,
for
yeah.
anybody. You could have, but I think you could have honestly put Ruffalo in that writing situation. I don't think he would have done well.
I
don't
think
think-
that movie
No,
was
that
garbage.
movie
Yeah.
was
It was-
plagued.
Honestly, Norton could have done the whole thing better than Ruffalo saving the same writing. Like, I just... that first movie was just so
Yeah,
bad.
it was
It's actually
definitely
pretty better
So
than
that's
Norton
what I'm
had.
trying to say. Maybe I said that wrong, but that's what I mean. Is I think that movie is just that whoever you put there,
No matter who you
it
put
would have
it,
gone
it
better.
yeah.
It wouldn't have been better.
It's better than Norton had it,
Yeah.
because Norton probably could take that script and do more with it than Ruffalo could have.
Norton made it
Probably,
a
yeah,
Norton made it
exactly.
a 5 out of 10 instead of it being a 3 out of 10.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But all right, guys, that's our review of Thor Ragnarok. So as you can see, we're all very high on this movie. So next up, we got
Infinity War
Oh, yeah. Because we did do Black Panther early.
in honor of
So
Chadwick.
normally Black Panther is the next one.
Rewind, watch that, and then skip forward to
Yeah,
Infinity War.
because of
You should
the
watch
tragic
it
passing
anyways,
of
whatever you want to do. Just watch that one like 3 more times. It's just
Yeah.
a good movie.
I'm telling you, man,
Watch all of them.
Black Panther is going to move up
Watch
on our
all of them
rankings
again.
before this is all done. I can almost
The
guarantee
final
that.
ratings.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Go check out the other reviewers' assembles. And until next time, guys, we're not going to have an intro for our 22 episodes.
No, it's an
I don't
outro.
need it. We have an
Correction.
outro. It's not
We
one.
record